I'm mad. I'm really mad. I'm not just disappointed, I'm mad for real. See this face? No light in my eyes. I'm mad and I'm sad and I'm not having a good time. Let's cut to the chase. I want to talk about why I'm mad at Pixar. This was going to be a different video. I was going to talk about Win or Lose, the Pixar series. I'd been looking forward to this ever since it was announced a few years back. I love Pixar and I was really excited to see what they would do with an episodic narrative. So when it came out, I sat down and I watched the first 6 episodes, and it was really cute. I couldn't wait to see where the story was going. And then we get to episode 7. So a little bit of context. Win or Lose is a series about a middle school softball team which is about to play a very important championship game. Each episode follows the perspective of a different character, them being players, their parents, or the teachers. Although the championship game is the main event, each narrative starts as a flashback to 1 week prior, going over what the characters had been dealing with leading up to that pivotal game. Episode 7 is focused on Kai. Although we had never seen things from her perspective before, we had met her already in the other episodes, as she interacts with the other characters. Kai is confident, quick, kind, always swooping in to save the day. However, the Kai we see at the start of her flashback is very different. Instead of cutting back to a week before the championship, we go to a year prior, as Kai shrinks into the backseat of her dad's car, rubbing something off of a baseball glove. Her dad talks about how he knows she's been having a hard time and that their current move will be good for them. Kai doesn't seem all that convinced, doodling a dead face on the window fog, but an ongoing softball game on a nearby field catches her eye. Kai and her dad are moving in with her grandmother. When she sees Kai, she tries to hug her, saying that she's gotten bigger, and Kai shifts away uncomfortably. Grandma's apartment is filled with old pictures of Kai, which she dislikes, and hides away when nobody's looking. She grimaces while looking at herself in the mirror and goes out for a walk. When she plays a little softball with the team, she feels better and takes off her hoodie, revealing her short hair, and smiles as she tells her teammates that her name is Kai. And I watched this and I thought, oh my god, this is a trans narrative. Kai disliking her own face and grimacing at pictures of herself, wearing a hoodie that conceals her form and growing uncomfortable at mentions of her body? Dysmorphia. Gender dysphoria. The thing that she was scraping off of the baseball glove? That's her dead name. This is paralleled later by a scene where she lovingly strokes her own name etched onto the new softball glove. After Kai joins the team, she lets her hair grow, starts wearing makeup and earrings, switches from the hoodie to more form-fitting and feminine clothes, and looks more and more like the strong and confident Kai we've seen in the other episodes. There's a conversation Kai has with her father after she meets the team, where we see them from the outside of Grandma's apartment. The dad is shocked that Kai wants to start playing softball because her thing used to be baseball, but he says that he loves her either way, and Kai gives him a tearful hug. That's quite the dramatic scene for a conversation about practicing a different sport, but that's because it's a metaphor. It's about gender. Kai switching to softball is her coming out as a girl. Kai is trans. There's no other explanation. Or, well, I mean, there kind of is. Because the thing about being queer is that oftentimes you're so starved for representation that you start grasping at straws to justify your worldview. Basically, everything can be gay if you're looking at stories with rainbow glasses. But in this case, the allegory fits so perfectly I saw no other possible interpretation, and I needed to know if I was the only one thinking that. So I went to Google and asked, is Kai trans? And the answer broke my heart. You see, Kai was trans, and then they cut that story out. Kai was trans for a lot of the series' production. There's an old storyboard that surfaced after the release of the episode, which makes the trans narrative a lot more obvious. We don't have the audio for these sequences, but we can guess at what is being said. In it, we see Kai, with a different, earlier design, nervously wondering which bathroom she can use, until her friend meets her and takes her to the female bathroom. Kai inspects her face in the mirror and seems quite happy with herself, but then a kid seems to say something to her, and as Kai responds, her figure starts to change. In Win or Lose, each character has a sort of illustrative representation of their personality or issues. Lori, the coach's kid, has a sweaty gray monster that rests on her shoulders and grows as she becomes more anxious, weighing her down with worries. Rochelle, a girl who has to deal with a seemingly irresponsible mother, shifts into an older, businesslike persona to show that she is trying to be her own adult or growing up too fast. In the final series, Kai's deal is that she floats whenever she is praised, but sinks into the ground when she is pressured. Things like acclaim for her softball performance or a nice comment about her outfit make her glow and soar, but her dad's constant reminders that she needs to be the best sink her feet into concrete. However, in these early storyboards, we see that Kai's issues were once represented differently. Her face shifts into a disjointed mosaic of mouths and eyes, and at some point her features fall apart altogether, and she has to pick them off the ground. The trans thing is even more obvious, but everyone's animated issues are. Kai is trying to craft her own identity, not yet fully sure of who she is. To really seal the deal, as her face shifts when she looks at herself in the bathroom mirror, the figure transforms into the masculine stickman drawing of a bathroom sign, and she sees herself growing bigger and bigger, overpowering the kid who is there with her. I don't have to translate this one for you. Kai is a trans girl and doesn't want to be perceived as a boy, plain and simple. But that's just an early storyboard, right? Kai's design hadn't even been finalized yet. There's no way they would have kept the trans narrative very far into production. But then, in celebration of Trans Day of Visibility, artist Danny Barnhart posted on Instagram a deeper dive into Kai's trans narrative, showing more concept art and giving us a better idea of how the face mosaic would have worked. It is explained that this representation was later dropped because it looked a bit too creepy and focused too much on Kai's external perceptions, so they shifted to the floating sinking deal, with the floating being a representation of trans euphoria. Suddenly, the scene in the final episode of Kai floating because someone complimented her girly outfit hits even more. Barnhart's post also revealed that the conversation Kai had with her dad was, in fact, about gender, which is why it was so emotional. It was never meant to be about sports. But after they were told to drop the trans, sports was all they had. Kai's voice actress, Chanel Stewart, is herself a trans woman, and was hired under the pretense that she would be voicing a trans character. 4 years after she had been brought into the project, she found out the trans storyline was cut from the final release, and that her character now was, according to the company, a straight cisgender girl. This was incredibly disheartening to her, as Stewart had been immensely proud of the work she had done, and now it was being used to showcase a different narrative altogether. This discovery absolutely killed any desire I had to talk about Win or Lose. And I had stuff I wanted to talk about. I could have made a video on it. But now, knowing what I know, I just can't. I don't want to. Why would I waste my time praising a show that doesn't respect trans people enough to feature them? This was not the first time I had felt that loss. And unfortunately, it was not the last, because Elio came out. Finally! Did you know they released the McDonald's toys for this movie a whopping 16 months before the film came out in theaters? That was messed up. I would call the marketing campaign for this movie a train wreck if there had actually been one. And then Pixar tried to gaslight us, saying we don't support original stories? Like, okay bestie, how about you support them first? How about you act like people are supposed to see this movie, instead of giving it zero media presence? instead of confusing your target audience by releasing the McDonald's Toys figures a year and a half before the movie comes out. No, I won't shut up about that, but okay, Elio came out, and I did not see it because I was tired. Why would I watch a movie that Pixar itself barely wanted me to watch? And I guess a lot of people felt that way because it flopped. Hard. It made less money than Lightyear, which had already been catastrophic. And then people started talking about the movie, and that's how I found out. Elio was supposed to be, drumroll please, gay! I'm dead inside. The timeline is a little muddled, but basically, Elio, the protagonist of the movie, had been envisioned as a queer-coded character. According to reports, this manifested as him having an explicit crush on a male celebrity and having a fondness for fashion and ecology. However, this was all changed after an initial test screening for the movie, because the audience claimed it would not pay to watch the film in theaters. Elio was plagued with production issues, which is obvious by the incredibly delayed release. The original director, Adrian Molina, is gay, and apparently poured a lot of love into Elio's character, but then he left production after that failed screening. Other staff members ditched the film as well, and a lot of the initial vision was lost in the rewrites. This sucks. I did not want to watch Elio. But then I watched Elio, and my heart was shattered once again. I'll start off by saying I liked Elio. It's a fine movie. I'm kinda easy to please when the subject is animation, and I genuinely like the story and its message. But there's a glaring issue with the narrative, one I don't see people talking about. In the movie, Elio has no friends. He is also obsessed with aliens, hoping that they will become his friends. He is abducted by a friendly alien community, but then the plot happens and Elio has to pretend to be the leader of Earth in a negotiation with a violent alien race. This race is composed of alien slugs which wear an external carapace made of metal and weapons. Elio befriends the son of the slug leader, a little guy called Glorden. When Glorden comes of age, he is supposed to take part in a ceremony where he dons his carapace for the first time, and is supposed to keep it on for the rest of his life. Rejecting the carapace is seen as a moral failing, as the others will perceive him as weak and vulnerable. The problem is, Glorden does not want to wear his carapace. He wants to remain soft and kind, instead of becoming a war machine like the rest of his kin. Elio is supportive of his friend's stance and helps him avoid the ceremony by crafting a clone of Glorden, so the clone gets the carapace instead. This works for about 5 minutes, but then Glorden's dad realizes his son has been replaced by a clone and starts wreaking havoc. The dad is everything the son is supposed to be. Big, strong, violent, terrifying. He is also everything the son wishes not to become. Glorden is afraid of telling his dad this, because he will be defying tradition and assuming an identity that is seen as shameful. Real men, real alien slugs, are brave warriors, not soft pansies. Glorden's story is queer-coded. He is rejecting traditional masculinity in the name of a softer existence, and doing so means he will be outcast by society. And I think this was supposed to be a mirror of Elio's story. Elio, the soft kid, playful and delicate, crushing over male idols and crafting shiny capes out of recycled plastic, he was supposed to relate to Glorden. They were two halves of a whole. That's how they connected so instantly, and why they were so willing to help one another. Elio's story should have been one of finding his kin, finding someone just like him, even if his friend is an alien slug. But he can't have that, because Pixar tried to scrape the gray stuff off the movie. More plot happens, and Glorden's life is hanging by a thread, and his father is the one to subvert expectations. Seeing his son hurt and afraid, the dad rejects his own carapace and swaddles his son in a cocoon of alien silk, rocking him softly back and forth. In the context of the movie, this is seen as a feminine action, because it's the slug mothers who do that to their children, not the fathers. But in order to save his son, the dad put aside everything that made him harsh and menacing and became a portrait of softness, of gentle affection. The design of the carapace itself is also worth noting. In order for the slugs to connect to the metal, the interior of the suit is filled with sharp spikes that stab the creature's body. When the dad steps out of his carapace to swaddle his son, his body is covered in prick marks from the metal. This ideal of masculinity is physically painful, and renouncing it is what saves the child's life. And Elio, the heart of the movie, can't have any of that. His arc is something about family or whatever, but it shouldn't have been. It's like I can see the reflection of what it once was, the image of a parent embracing their queer son. But when I look at what should have been casting that reflection, there's nothing left. And the movie would have been stronger with Elio as a queer protagonist. There's this idea that nobody likes him, that he's an outcast, a weirdo, but we're never given much of a reason as to why. It's kinda brushed to the side. But if Elio had been allowed to express his non-masculine side, we would have understood immediately. The whole time, I was watching this movie keeping that idea in mind, and I was haunted by the story that could have been. There's some bullies that chase after Elio and attempt to punch him, and the reason behind the violence should have been explicit. It was supposed to be homophobia. Pixar said they removed the gay storyline because of that initial test screening, but I don't buy it. The reason seems disjointed. I feel like there were many possible reasons why the test audience said they wouldn't pay to watch the movie. With streaming services, our posture towards cinema in general is shifting, so it's less like they wouldn't pay for this movie and more like they wouldn't pay for any movies. But even if they wouldn't pay for Elio specifically, was the gay storyline really to blame? Isn't it possible that there were other reasons why the movie got that reaction? And after they reworked the movie, removing the queerness altogether, did the audience's posture shift? What if a second test screening had gotten an even worse reaction? We never found out. But it doesn't matter because they're lying. They just wanted an excuse to get the gay stuff out of the movie. Because they did the same thing to Inside Out 2. I did want to watch Inside Out 2 when it came out. I'm a huge fan of the first one, and I was excited to see what they would do with a sequel. And I liked it. Not as much as the original, but it was pretty good. Again, I'm easy to please. But I also have standards, and I did consider making a video about it. I had stuff to say. But then this article came out saying that there was a dedicated effort on the company's part to make sure the relationship between the two main human girls, Riley and her idol Val, wouldn't be seen as gay. Stuff like changing the lighting or the tone of certain scenes to make sure no one read it as romantic. Elio can't be gay, because Riley already couldn't. And the article doesn't stop there. Pixar animators were subjected to a toxic environment of pressure and crunch time, working unreasonable hours under constant demand and surveillance. Lightyear had been a failure, so they had to make sure Inside Out 2 wasn't. And when it turned out to be a huge success, they fired the artist responsible for the film so the company wouldn't have to pay them a bonus from the box office profits. The movie was a success because of the workers. And they were abandoned. It feels gross. I feel gross having watched it. It's like the movie is covered in blood. It's a ghost of a film brought to life by hands that are no longer there. I'm mad. I'm really fucking mad. I don't really have a solution to this. Usually when people talk about this, they tell you not to give Disney/Pixar any money, but I feel like we lose the battle either way. If we give the money, we're sending the message that it's okay for them to pull this crap. But if we don't give them money, they're going to twist the message and say it's because we don't support original stories, or because queer narratives are too controversial to be successful, and whatever profits they don't make will be stolen off of the pockets of the animators. It also feels a little tone-deaf to tell people not to give them money when sometimes people already weren't doing that in the first place. Like, I don't know how else to say this, but I did not pay to watch Elio. So if I come here and tell a bunch of broke internet dwellers that the best form of protest is to not give Disney any money, I'm just highlighting how powerless we are to send an actual message. Like, great, the one thing we could do is something we're already doing, and things are only getting worse. This is a company issue, by the way. The writers and animators are fighting hard for queer stories to be told. If anyone's stopping them, it's the higher-ups. We're left with allegories and mirror character arcs because it's all that remained. I wasn't born yesterday. I know corporations are not my friends, and I shouldn't expect activism from one of the biggest companies in the world. But I miss the days when they at least pretended to like us. I hate to say it, but I feel like the best thing we can do is complain. Be a bitch about it. They want to silence our stories? We'll write better ones. We'll rub it in their faces. We'll stay alive out of spite. And out of joy, and out of love, and out of everything good. But sometimes, you just gotta be mad. I'm mad, and I don't want to be anymore. All I can do is hope for a future where I don't have to be. Thank you for watching.
Well, hello there. It was very nice of you to watch this video. Special thanks to my beautiful patrons for making videos like these possible. You guys are the complement to my outfit that sends me soaring through the school. If you have enjoyed the video, you can also help me out by clicking the like button, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell too. You can also follow me on a bunch of different places, such as Blue Sky, the website formerly known as Twitter, and my second channel. The link to all of those things will be in the description. Share this video with your friends if you're feeling extra generous. Feel free to leave a comment down below, especially if it is about how mad you are. Grr, let's be mad together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
I'm mad at Pixar, Pixar. They tricked me, had me wishing on a fucking lie.